Our group consists of the first and second generation Koreans living abroad, as well as non-Koreans who love Korean music, movies, Hangul, Korean language, and of course, Korean food. We watched the 20th Republic of Korea presidential election process with great interest. It was strange to see a person who had been only a prosecutor all his life and had no public service experience running for president candidate and waving his fist at the supporters throughout the presidential election. We are also starting to wonder about his supporters cheering for the candidate who were waving his fist at them. Our concerns about Mr. Yoon Suk-yeol were triggered by a public apology press conference on December 26, 2021, in which his wife, Mrs. Kim Gun-hee, admitted that she had forged her academic background and career. Watching the press conference, we expected not only would Mr. Yoon's brief political experience come to end, but also that Mrs. Kim's academic credentials would be revoked and that she might be even arrested. But to our surprise, nothing happened. Ironically, during his time as a public prosecutor, Mr. Yoon conducted a very intense 2-year search and seizure of his boss, Minister of Justice, Mr. Cho Guk, and his family. Mr. Cho was dismissed for falsifying their daughter's high school award certificate, and his wife was sentenced to 4 years in prison, and as of May 2022, she's still in prison. Additionally, Mr. Cho's daughter completed all the courses to become a doctor, but her universities and grade school records were nullified, and now she is only a high school graduate. As we thought, Mrs. Kim's crime is far worse in quality and quantity than that of Mr. Cho's wife, so we expected the prosecution's legal action. But we are shocked to see that no subpoena investigation had been conducted so far. The announcement of the plagiarism of university doctoral thesis has been postponed indefinitely. As soon as we began to look into Ms. Kim's background, we also discovered that she was involved in stock price manipulation at the Deutsche Motors company while she was working as the director there. All of the other people involved in the stock price manipulation case are now in prison. We cannot understand why Kim Gun-hee is an exception. She took an active part, but has never been investigated. With the truth ignored and a suspicion buried, Mr. Yoon became the president of South Korea and Kim Gun-hee became First Lady on March 10, 2022. We began to wonder how this was possible and soon learned that most South Korean media and even public prosecutors were covering up her crimes and preventing criminal charges against President Yoon Suk-yeol, his wife, and his mother-in-law. The media and the law appear to have forsaken their responsibility and duty to reveal the truth and pursue justice, and have rather become the tools and servant of those in power. We learned that not only the media and prosecutors, but also South Korea's largest cult group called Shincheonji and mega Christian churches intervened deeply in the election. We also found out that Cheong-gong, the shaman whose teachings the Yoon couple followed, was involved in presidential election. Most of the truth-seeking media in Korea is dead. When Japan invaded Korea and Korea came under Japanese rule from 1910 to 1945, the press worked as traitors, but they never been punished, but rather have grown into Korea's giant press. The media, which should take the lead in finding out the truth, again became the parasite of the government. The media, by some kind of tacit agreement, are not investigating the forgery of Mrs. Kim's academic background and credentials and the manipulation of stock prices, but are instead writing articles about what President Yoon had for lunch and the clothes, shoes, glasses worn by Mrs. Kim. Such articles dominate newspapers and portals. President Yoon is creating Prosecutors Republic by appointing his right-hand man, Han Dong-un, who has been accused of various crimes as a Minister of Justice, and by appointing a public prosecutor who cleared his mother-in-law her involvement in other crimes. Mr. Yoon has appointed his fellow prosecutors in all important cabinet posts. Democracy of Korea is collapsing, but the media is silent. We don't see any hope for finding truth in Korean press. Mrs. Kim Gun-hee threatened that if she herself takes the power, journalists who have been criticizing her will not survive. She said, quote, "When I take the power, the police arrest the reporters even if we don't ask for it. They won't survive." Quote. President Yoon also foretold the oppression of the media. And as expected, prosecutors are summoning those who oppose Mr. Yoon's regime one by one. President Yoon Suk-yeol, his wife, and her mother may be breathing a sigh of relief as they think they have successfully controlled media and the prosecution. But darkness cannot cover the truth. For those of us who love Korea, it is such a painful task to reveal such a corruption in the Republic of Korea. However, there doesn't seem to be any other alternative. President Yoon shouted fairness and common sense throughout the campaign. However, there's no fairness and common sense we can see anywhere. From now on, we'll let the world know how their crime allegations have been washed away one by one. We hope that our efforts will be of some help in achieving the true fairness and common sense we believe in. What we're going to tell you are unimaginable stories. We are going to open a Pandora box. Are you ready?